John Harbaugh is officially in New York, and he said that he loves it here. Let's talk about his press conference, what came out of it, and some of the best quotes from the day. So, Joe Schoen obviously introduced him, said that he's a proven winner, he's an elite leader, and over his 18 years in Baltimore, he has been great at player development, he has been good with player toughness, and that he has developed a great culture and a winning culture there. So this was the quote about New York from Harbaugh. He said, "They say New York is a different kind of place. I would say that's probably true, man. It is incredible. Seeing the players here gets me excited. It's an honor." So he seems like he is very thrilled to be the New York Giants head coach. He also said, "My dad taught me that they weren't just the New York Giants. They were the New York football Giants." He said it's an iconic franchise and that he wanted this Giants job, and he is so grateful to be here. If you guys haven't watched the press conference or listened to it, I would say do it. It's just going to get you excited. And look, we have heard great press conferences before. Joe Judge, we're going to punch him in the mouth. We're going to be a tough, all that sort of stuff. And, I think Brian Daboll had a good press conference when he first started. And obviously those two did not turn out well. So it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but it's just nice to have a good press conference, to feel like everyone's excited that he's there, and for him to get us, the fans, excited. So here's some of my favorite quotes from the press conference. He said that he has tremendous respect for both families, starting with John Mara, that they have met over the last couple years at owners conferences and stuff like that. But now he got to meet Steve Tisch and his family and said that they're all great. He said, "Our focus is simple. It starts with building a team who is physical and tough, capable of overwhelming their opponents." So one thing I want to throw in here in regards to all of this is we're going to talk more about like what John Harbaugh is going to bring to the program, the culture and stuff. But in Baltimore, they used to grade every single practice. So they would come out of practice, and when they go have their meetings, he would be like, "Today you got a D because you were lazy, you didn't try that hard, and you need to improve on XYZ." So I love that. This is the type of stuff that is going to get players motivated and is going to help with development. It's going to help them improve as players and people, and that's something that he talked about. And it's just I think it's going to motivate them more. When you have a coach who's not really on your ass to be better, why are you going to try to be better? Especially some of these players who are getting paid, who are, in the middle of their contracts. Like, I think for some people, I've learned this in my whole 35 years on this planet, is that not everyone has an internal motivation, and you can be an accountant or you could be an NFL player. Not everyone is wired that way. Like Jackson Dart, who's watching film 24/7, who's a football guy who only wants to talk about football, who Joe Schoen had to come in and stop him from talking and get him out of the room with John Harbaugh because they were talking for almost 2 hours and they were about to run behind schedule. Joe Schoen had to be like, "Listen, bro, I know you want to talk to this guy. He's going to be the coach. You're going to have plenty of time to do it. You got to go." So, that's what this is going to be about. It's about football. And that's what he said. It's about football. We are about football, and we are about the team. The team always comes first. Not I, not you, not me, not we. It's we, the whole group. We are all working together here. He also said that he wants guys who love football. And he said, if you don't love football, you're not going to like it here and you can go somewhere else. And he said something like, Joe Schoen will send you elsewhere. So I also love that. I think that alone is going to be a motivator for people that, oh shit, I could end up on the practice squad, I could end up cut, or I could end up on another team outside of this New York area if I don't get my shit together and I don't start working hard. And sometimes, threats work, is all I'm saying. He was asked about the roster. He said that I like these players. I like how physical, how tough they are. They want to be successful, and I'm ready to get to work. He also said, where's the rest of the quote about the players? So the qualities in players, the number one thing, guys love football. If you don't love football, you're not going to love it here. On the roster, he said, I see a lot of really good players when I look at the roster. I look at tape, and that's what shows me. He also said the tape doesn't lie. That if you had a bad day at practice and you're going through the tape, we can all see that, and we're going to work on how we're going to improve it the next day. He said, my dad calls me and says, did you watch the Giants? Did you watch the film? Did you see that offense? Do you see the offensive line, the quarterback, the defensive front, the front four? He said, when my dad told me, I knew it was true, that we have a chance, meaning with this roster and with these players. So I thought that was really great, that he's obviously seen what he needed to see and seen that there's been good play out of this team throughout the last couple of years. He got advice from Andy Reid, who he said is a man of few words. And this is what Andy Reid said to him, quote, change can be good, end quote. He was also asked about building a winning culture and how long it's going to take for them to start winning. He said the plan is to win on day one. What he defines as the culture is a shared understanding, the shared vision, same value, and same beliefs. We all have to see the game the same way and want to play the game the same way, and you have to be unwilling to give up. He also said that one of the things that he thinks he's done well or had success over the last 18 years that has built a consistent winning culture is you cannot be afraid to try things differently and to change your methods based on what's working and what's not working. So I thought that was great. So for the people who are like, oh, he's old, the game is going to get away from him. I mean, he's obviously not afraid to try new things and to make changes where changes are necessary. Okay, what else? He was asked about what he's looking for in coordinators and coaches and said, we'll start tomorrow with interviews. So he means Wednesday when you're watching this. Great coaches on this staff that we look forward to talking to. So he's going to be meeting with all of the coaches, the assistant coaches, position coaches, everything, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week. So we'll see what happens there. He said, structure that's puts together that players can play fast and play with a lot of confidence. Try to bring a lot of coaches in here who are capable of doing that. He wants the players to be able to cut it loose and play fast. He mentioned that a couple times, that he wants them to be able to play fast. He also said he wants them to be physical and he wants them to be tough. He was asked about Joe Schoen and what it's going to be like to work with him. He said, the conversations themselves led me to believe that this would be good collaboration. He said that him and Joe Schoen have gotten to know each other very well. Even Chris Maris said that he thinks that John Harbaugh knows Joe Schoen better than anyone else knows Joe Schoen because they have spent that much time together. He said his knowledge is deep. He knows all the teams, the coaches, the players, and probably even all of the scouts. I was very impressed. So very impressed by his knowledge of the NFL. I think that says a lot. I mean, he didn't have to go into that in depth about Joe Schoen, and he was very honest about it and obviously had good answers. All right, lastly, let's talk about Jackson Dart. He said the quarterback is kind of important. It's a big deal. You build your team around your quarterback and around what your team does well. To me, he's all about football. He wants to talk football all the time, and that's kind of what I like too. We're going to have a lot of conversations. I can't wait to work with him. So I think those two will be a match made in heaven. So excited to see how this whole thing goes. Next up, I want to talk about some of the players that were in the building, because speaking of Jackson Dart, he was not in the building, and I know that people are going to make a big deal out of it, and I think it's not worth making a big deal out of, because like I just told you, he spent 2 hours with John Harbaugh when he was in the building. They have had multiple conversations since then. John Harbaugh has also spoken with Malik Neighbors. He said that, let me get the quote for you. So Leak is out west rehabbing. This is what John Harbaugh had to say. I had a chance to talk to Malik on the phone. It was great. He was training out in LA, rehabbing out there for a week or whatever it was, and working hard. I just loved talking to him. His joy and excitement. He had some really good ideas. He's really a thoughtful guy. Obviously saw him coming out of LSU. He wasn't a guy we had a chance for. So I was like, well, look at this guy. He's really good. Just kind of a dream. I figured we might have to cover him Sunday. And here we are. We get a chance to coach him. So I'm really excited about it. So Malik was not in the building either. Neither was Dexter Lawrence. But these are the guys who were in the building. Basically all of the offensive line, which I thought was really interesting. So JMS, Greg Van Roten, who else? Marcus Bowe, James Hudson, Joshua Izudu, Jameis Winston was there, Tyrone Tracy was there, Chris Manhertz was there, Brian Burns was there, and I thought this was great. That Art Stapleton tweeted out that Tracy was in Miami. He just proposed to his fiance, so he's now engaged. And, I guess they were planning on staying there, like enjoying the engagement and the vacation. It happened over the weekend. And Jameis called Tracy and said, I think you should be here for this. I think it's important. So Tracy looked at the flights, changed his flight, and flew up to be here. And I think that says a lot about Jameis's leadership, about what that means to him, and about the importance of, him showing face and getting to meet him and stuff like that. Jameis and John Harbaugh also had a great interaction. When he was asked about the quarterback position, he mentioned Jameis and said, I've watched film on Jameis too. And he said, I know Jameis, we played him a couple years ago, and I know that Jameis can throw it. He had some beautiful throws and, catches that day. He said it was a great day for Jameis, not a great day for us. So they lost, and clearly. I guess, I don't know when this was. I'll have to look it up at the game, but they didn't pan to Jameis, and I wish that they did, because I feel like it just would have been a great interaction, and I think we can expect a lot of that moving forward. So, anyway, I'm glad that there were a lot of players in the building. That was what I saw. I tried to look at as many beat writers as I could to give me more information on who else was there. And if I find out that there were other players there that I just missed or have not been reported yet, I will let you guys know, because I do think that some people were kind of interested in who was there, who wasn't there. Now, do I think it's a big deal that Dexter Lawrence was not there? Not necessarily, because obviously the entire 53-man roster wasn't there, and they could have been. Would I like to see Abdul Carter and Kayvon there? Absolutely. Would I have liked to see, a lot of other players there? Sure. But I think the reality is a lot of these guys made other plans. They're going home. They're back to where they live. They're spending some family time. They could have had prior engagements, things like that. So I am not going to crucify anyone for not being there. What I will say is that if someone like Dexter Lawrence or Kayvon ends up getting traded, and there's obviously been inklings about Dexter, not as much about Kayvon, but maybe this will be the beginning of that or something like that. I'm not that worried about it. I know people have a lot of concerns about Dexter, just his approach to this year and stuff like that. And we could talk about that another day, but this is not something that I'm going to be like, he should have been there and he doesn't want to be a Giant and he hates Harbaugh. Like, let's not do that. Okay. Let's take it one day at a time here. Cause I'm sure that Dexter Lawrence is happy that we actually have a coach who knows what the hell that they're doing and is hopefully going to bring in a good defensive coordinator. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is that there were some other details that came out from Ian O'Connor. Oh my God, these stupid iPhone updates, like leave me alone. About the whole process with signing the deal and stuff like that. So it was not known until now or until today that Chris Mara had another dinner with John Harbaugh on Friday night. So Chris Mara said that on Thursday around 4:30, they shook hands, verbal agreement. Everyone was excited. The Giants started celebrating, whatever. Then on Friday, Chris Mara had another dinner with John Harbaugh to, I guess, talk through things and whatever, kind of just converse about everything and whatnot. Then this is a tweet from Ian O'Connor. Chris Mara confirmed to me at the Giants presser that John Mara didn't decide to grant John Harbaugh his request for a direct report to ownership until Saturday. Quote from Chris, quote, "My brother just felt it was time for that change," end quote. So it did really go down to the wire. And Ian O'Connor also said that he texted Harbaugh on Friday night around 9 p.m. and said, like, how's it going? Are you going to be the next coach of the Giants? And he wrote back the shrug emoji. So I don't know if that was before dinner, if it was during dinner with Chris Mara, but it sounds like whatever Chris Mara maybe might have told him at that dinner was not enough. Maybe he was like, I'm trying to work on my brother, but Chris Mara does deserve a lot of credit because he has never really been in front of the media before. He spoke to the media for, I think, a solid 20 minutes after John Harbaugh spoke to the media. And, he really did everything he possibly could to seal the deal and get John Harbaugh in the building and get him to sign the paperwork to be the next head coach of the New York Giants. Not only did he go all the way down to Baltimore, he took him out to dinner. It sounds like he convinced his brother that John Harbaugh needs to take control of this ship because what we're doing is very clearly not working. And Chris Mara said he had never spoken to John Harbaugh before until this. And Tom Coughlin also deserves a lot of credit because he was a big part of the reason as to why John Harbaugh also signed the contract. Harbaugh said that him and Coughlin had a very long conversation. They've talked a lot before, and he just felt comfortable after everything that he talked to Coughlin about and said that he was the one that kind of sealed the deal for me. So it's pretty amazing that up until this whole process that Harbaugh had not spoken to Coughlin or Chris Mara. And now those two guys, after just, a week, were the deciding factors, pretty much. I'm sure the roster and Dar and Shane and whatever, the franchise, I'm sure that was all part of it. But, Chris Mara and Tom Coughlin sealed the deal. So they deserve a lot of respect for that. I think I will speak for a good portion of the fan base. We say thank you, and we are happy to have John Harbaugh in the building. So tomorrow we're going to talk about coordinators because they are going to start interviewing them today. So stay tuned for that.